Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 85. Destroyers. Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 2, 2010, 0900H local. Donald Blake. That's what they came up with? Naruto asked incredulously. It's Dr. Foster's former acquaintance. Phil replied after a slight hesitation for finding a neutral term. An ex. Identity theft on your ex. That's just cold. Naruto commented with a slight chuckle. Wait, you guys already made a portfolio for Foster. She's already on our radar due to her association with Drive Selvig. Phil explained. We just have to bump her up the list. And they say Big Brother ain't real. The conspiracy theorists are getting more things right by the day. Naruto exaggeratedly groaned out. And with the US military hoping to dump Area 51 to some poor schmuck, they'll just get off in their pants in their excitement. That's something I don't ever need to hear. Besides, there are no aliens in Area 51. Phil answered. It's just a testing ground for advanced tech from all branches of the military. We even borrow the place from time to time. Naruto gave Phil a deadpan stare. I know. All the aliens are either pooled up in hidden communities or living incognito like me. Phil raised an eyebrow at Naruto's assertion. Okay, not me, but you get the point. Even you guys have a half-dead blue alien in storage. Contrary to Naruto's expectation, Phil only did a slight widening of the eyes and increased heartbeat. I'm not even going to question how you know about Project Tahiti, but I'm more curious about these aliens living on the planet. We need to do a threat assessment and registration. Are you sure? 'Cause if you start poking in the hornet's nest, I'm not going to help you guys out. I know with some of those people. Naruto suddenly got a eureka moment. Come to think of it, one of the guys in my poetry class, and yes, I got a poetry class. I need to woo my girls every now and then. Anyway, one of the guys in my poetry class has a similar signature with our resident god of thunder. Only considerably weaker. Moving past the fact that you're practically whipped. Hey, have you seen Nat? She's basically a BDSM queen. Naruto tried to defend himself, but Phil ignored him. Can you contact your alien friend? We need every information we can get. Sure, I would love to, Naruto answered with a shrug. But you won't have any time to waste. We got more incoming, he continued while pointing to the sky, opening up for another wormhole. Phil quickly pulled out his radio and barked out orders. I want 4 QRTs ready to go in 3 minutes. 2 more QRTs to the town, just in case. Phil jogged towards the designated parking lot of the temporary base. Overwatch 1 and 2 report. Base, we've got Xena, Jackie Chan, Robin Hood, and an upsized Gimli coming in for the Renaissance Fair. One of the guys in the groups watching the town replied. Since you'll just be hanging out here with nothing to do, so why don't you go to the town and wait there? In my experience, this kind of situation always bottoms up. Phil said to Naruto, who decided to follow him. Really, I hope whatever you guys meet kick your collective balls. I might just have some fun again. Naruto replied with a feral grin before disappearing. Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 2, 2010, 0945H local. Naruto had been waiting in the diner for almost 30 minutes with his eye activated. He already saw Phil retreat from the venerable army of 15 feet tall, metal-clad, laser-shooting behemoths. The army was already making its way through the desert towards the town. He could already feel his blood boiling, expecting a huge fight. Naruto was also watching the small group of Asgardians, scientists, and an intern talking or catching up, completely unaware of the looming threat. Although the Asgardians looked capable enough, but he doubts their capability to fight the walking tanks. Maybe they could take on one of them, but 100, highly unlikely. Only one of the giants entered the town while the rest closed off any exits. Thor and his group quickly noticed the intruder, a testament to their training and instinct. That's why they're called Sif and the Warriors 3. Volstagg, one of the strongest and toughest Asgardians, not of the royal family. Famous for never slowing down in a fight even after receiving hit after hit and endless appetite. Fandral, the best fencer and most flamboyant fighter most would ever see. Daring and courageous to a fault, especially to women. Hogan, the quickest and most agile in their group. silent and lethal, preferring to hit weak points and critical hits than taking enemies head-on. He reminds the Nine Realms how deadly are veneers under their pacifist interior. Finally, Sif, the deadliest Asgardian not of the legendary Valkyries. Her goal in life is re-establishing the ancient and honorable group of female warriors. A destroyer, Thor said barely above a whisper. Why is it here? Jane, Darcy, and Eric also saw the metal behemoth walking towards them. A destroyer, what's that? That doesn't sound good. Jane asked question after question, but Thor's eyes remained glued to the destroyer. Good thing Sif still had her presence of mind to answer. The destroyer is a weapon created near the end of the Frost Giant War. The culmination of dwarven ingenuity and Asgardian magic. Made of Uru, an indestructible metal capable of holding a near infinite amount of magic. They were explicitly designed to destroy and never be destroyed. Sif explained, still not taking her eyes off the weapon. It was so effective that it's used for Asgard's security and King Odin's personal vault. It was so terrifying its power that the Nine Realms practically begged Odin to never let them out of Asgard ever again. And now it's here. Darcy deadpanned. And now it's here, Sif repeated. Jane, Darcy, Eric. You need to get everyone as far away from here as possible. Thor said in a serious tone. What are you gonna do? Jane asked, concerned. He's going to fight with us just like old times. Volstagg boisterously interjected. No, I'm weaker than any Asgardian. I'll only be in the way, or worse, get one of you killed. But I can help get these people to safety, a distraction for the destroyer at the very least. Thor countered. Then you'll need some time, said Hogun. And you'll have it, Fandral continued. For Asgard, Sif shouted. For Asgard. The warriors three reciprocated before all of them charged the destroyer. Volstagg, in an amazing feat of physical characteristics, led the pack in the charge. However, the destroyer was having none of that. Its faceplate opened up and fired a concentrated beam of fire not unlike a laser. Volstagg got hit dead on, blasting backward toward Fandral. Fandral, for his part, tried to catch Volstagg, but the apparent difference in size did not do them any good, and they just plowed down the road towards a parked car, totaling it. Hogun just jumped over the barreling ball made of his friends and used both of his maces to hit the back of the destroyer's leg, but the impact barely phased it. Sif immediately followed up by throwing her elongated spear straight through the destroyer's chest. Hogun pulled the protruding spear and struck it again from behind, effectively pinning the destroyer to the ground. Even in its vulnerable state, Sif didn't let up with her assault, using her sword to slash and stab the destroyer's weak points. However, the destroyer isn't out for the count, not by a long shot. The multiple plated rings making up the destroyer did a complete 180, changing it from a bent down to a bent up position. In its new position, it can fight more effectively. The destroyer pulled the spear from its chest and swung it to Sif, who defended using her shield. What she didn't expect was for the destroyer to use her spear to pierce through her shield as well as her arm. Hogun's quick reflexes saved Sif from further injuries since he pulled her back. Volstagg used his considerable size to tackle the behemoth, hoping to put it down on the ground, but it was able to brace itself. The toe of the destroyer dug into the asphalt as it was pushed backward by Volstagg. The destroyer was about to pierce Volstagg's back with the spear when Fandral disarmed it using his sword. Friends, we're going to retreat. The town is empty, Thor shouted towards the group. Empty? How could it be empty? I just saw some a few minutes ago, Sif replied through gritted teeth. Thor approached Hogun and Sif. I don't know. Nevertheless, we must leave. Midgard is not capable of defeating a destroyer, as we are right now. Thor explained. If Loki is indeed controlling the destroyers, we must deal with. He wasn't able to finish his statement when he heard Jane's scream. Thor quickly turned around and saw the destroyer's open face pointed right at him. With a quick move, he took Sif's shield and blocked the concentrated fire, sending him to the ground. The destroyer quickly disabled Volstagg and Fandral with a strike to their heads before marching towards the downed Thor. Hogun and the injured Sif tried to stop the lumbering giant, but they were quickly set aside with a swing of its arm. But the time bought by his friends was enough for Thor to stand up, although a little shaky on his legs. Brother, whatever I have done to wrong you, whatever I have done to lead you to do this, I am truly sorry. Thor said while looking at the destroyer. But these people are innocent. Taking their lives will gain you nothing. So take mine and end this. The destroyer stared down at Thor before firing a prolonged fire blast, bathing him in flames. It took a minute for the destroyer to stop, leaving Thor in a crater with slightly charred skin and shallow breathing. It gave Thor one last kick in the ribs before turning around, this time to Jane. Jane didn't even saw the destroyer walking towards her until it was too late, as her eyes were practically glued to Thor's dying form. When she noticed the destroyer, its faceplate was already open and staring right at her, only a few seconds from being barbecued. However, that never came to pass, as a fast-moving object struck the destroyer at its face, causing it to miss Jane completely. The object headed straight to Thor's raised hand, causing multiple lightning strikes to hit him as it reached his hands. His injuries quickly healed, and his armor seemingly formed over his body out of lightning. Thor rushed towards the destroyer and did multiple heavy swings, causing it to stagger. The sky suddenly darkened as Thor pulled back to prepare for another big hit. He swung hard and struck true as lightning struck the destroyer, sending it flying. It caused the building it landed on to collapse on itself. Everyone watched the structure for any sign of movement. After 2 minutes of silence, they finally released a sigh of relief. "Oh, my God," Darcy exclaimed. "So, is this how you normally look?" Jane asked as she approached Thor. "More or less," Thor answered with a small smile. "It's a good look," Jane continued while eyeing Thor. However, they were snapped out of their atmosphere by a shout from a familiar voice. "Hey, lovebirds, it ain't over." Everybody looked towards where the voice came from and saw a blonde guy wearing a suit. The same guy Thor and the others saw in the diner. "Blondie," Darcy exclaimed. "Hello to you too, intern, and my name isn't Blondie. I'm Naruto. But as I said, it ain't over." Naruto pointed at the end of multiple side streets. That's when they saw dozens of destroyers making their way towards where they were. At the same time, the previously downed destroyer was standing up from the ruins of the building. "How many did your father build?" Darcy fearfully asked. 1,001, Thor answered. "How many are here right now?" Darcy asked again. "Maybe 100. Fuck. Chapter 87. Destroyer of Destroyers. Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 2, 2010, 1015H local. "Somebody really wants to kill you, man," Naruto said as he lazily stared at the incoming army, though it's only a mask for his excitement. "I have no idea that Loki was given access to all of Asgard's defenses." Thor somberly replied. "Right, that blue-eyed emo bitch-ass illusionists," Naruto supplemented with a satisfied nod. Thor turned around and glared at Naruto. "Have care with how you speak. He's still my brother," Thor practically growled out before realizing something. "Did you say blue? His eyes are green. Do you really want to talk about his eyes right now?" Naruto asked incredulously but filed that information for later. "You're right, we should deal with them," Thor answered before his expression turned a little darker. "Even if we die trying. Midgard doesn't have the power to deal with one destroyer, not to mention 10. The atmosphere turned a little more somber as they realized how, for the lack of a better term, fucked they were. Well, everyone except for Naruto. "Naruto," Thor called out, "I understand that you're a soldier of some kind. I would like for you to take Jane, Darcy, and Eric away from here." Naruto just stared at Thor for quite a while, letting the destroyers get closer and closer before releasing a full-blown laugh. "Hell nah, why do you think I cleared this town?" Naruto let out, surprising everybody. "Though I can take them out of here. I can do that much." He pulled 3 stones from his pocket and tossed them at the humans. "Don't barf when you land. The others won't appreciate it." They would have asked a question, but they suddenly disappeared. The trio arrived at a mountain face overlooking the town quite some distance away. Around them was what they assumed were all the other residents, bound and gagged. What's this?" Darcy shakily asked. "Judging from the guys in the suit over there." Eric pointed to one group of tied-up guys. "It looks like the Blondie isn't an agent after all." Back in the town, Thor, Sif, and the Warriors 3 were staring at Naruto with a dumbfounded expression. Transportation magic is one of the pinnacles of Asgardian magic. It either requires a specially made object to channel the energy from Yggdrasil or using dark energy to bypass most of the barriers. From the stories, the satyrs of Midgard were said to have a variation of a transportation spell but operate on a different school of magic. However, that's no magic. That much was for sure. What are you? Sif asked in a whisper. I'm just a guy who's a little bored and saw the opportunity to alleviate some of it. Naruto responded with a shrug before pulling out 5 three-pronged knives. You can do what you want, but I suggest you stay right there based on how only one was able to wipe the floor with your asses. The warriors 3 wanted to refute Naruto's assertion, but he suddenly threw all of his knives toward the army before suddenly disappearing the same way as Jane, Darcy, and Eric. Not even a second later, 5 domes of air erupted from the vanguard of the destroyer army. It left behind 8 mangled destroyer bodies and at least 10 damaged ones. By the All-Father, Sif gasped out. Thor snapped out of his stupor when an explosion of fire occurred in the middle of the army. The destroyers were already focusing their attention on Naruto, so they were able to have a bit of a breather. We're not going to miss our chance for a battle. Thor started. The bards will sing our greatness across the stars. Valhalla doors will be open wide for our arrival. He spun his hammer around, gathering the storm clouds up in the sky. Come on, friends. Glory awaits. Thor flew high up the sky, gathering the lightning into his hammer before slamming it straight down towards the center of a cluster of 4 destroyers, sending them flying. These destroyers remained unfazed and stood up rather quickly. That's when Sif and the warriors 3 arrived and taking on 1 destroyer each. However, it quickly became apparent that they were barely gaining ground against their opponents. Only their superior skills, impeccable teamwork, and Thor's firepower and support enabled them to slowly defeat the 4 destroyers. After 5 minutes of intense battle, they were able to put down and damage the destroyers using Thor's lightning and weather manipulation abilities. He dismantled the armor, revealing a flame core eerily similar to the Eternal Flame. Too similar, in fact. The group turned around after another explosion occurred. But this time, it sounded like something heavy landed on the ground. Littered around the area were different parts of around 30 destroyers. Some were more damaged than others, but all were non-operational. At the forefront of the assault was Naruto, kicking, punching, and ripping his way through the destroyer army. He's not even using any of his chakra techniques now since he found out how he severely overestimated the durability of the walking tanks. They're just like the durability of a top-class chakra armor with an added regeneration perk. Not like that it's much help. Naruto could kick through the torso of a destroyer with a moderately powered kick. He can also tank multiple concentrated fire lasers even without chakra enhancement on his skin, since the chakra metal under his skin could endure almost any attack. He's basically stronger, faster, tougher than the destroyer assholes. Of course, even through the mildly disappointing but still entertaining fight, Naruto didn't forget to take a sample of the metal. It's as, if not, more durable than vibranium but without the kinetic energy absorbing capabilities. Although, his chakra could move through the metal without much difficulty. Something to test for later. Naruto just finished off the 80th destroyer by plunging both his arms through the chest and ripping it apart when he decided to take stock of the situation. 10 minutes of Chunin-level taijutsu with minor strength enhancement and he already defeated that much. To be fair, the first 20 or so were defeated with chakra techniques like Rasengan and Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu. Far behind Naruto were the Asgardians, staring gobsmacked at him. Well, the 5 of them were able to defeat 4 destroyers, so they're not completely incompetent. You guys going to just sit there and watch, or are you going to? Naruto didn't even get to finish his statement when a daring destroyer blasted him at the back of his head. The skin and hair at the back of his head were basically burned off, revealing the metal under the skin underneath. Even without the Shinigami eyes activated, he could easily imagine the surprised expression from the Asgardians, but that's neither here nor there as he was already healing. You motherfucker. I'm talking here. Naruto dashed towards the interrupting destroyer. A fraction of a second later, Naruto's arms were already around the destroyer's head, and after a quick maneuver around it, he already removed the head. He let it drop down the ground as well as the head. That just leaves 15 of you guys, Naruto said while cracking his neck before flashing a hungry smile. What are you going to do now? 3 destroyers opened their faceplates and charged up the fire laser thing, but they were the ones interrupted this time. An arrow seemingly made if the light hit the middle destroyer, causing an explosion and launching the 3 backward. Naruto knows that arrow and who shot it. He immediately opened his Shinigami eyes and confirmed his suspicions. He saw a black SUV approaching from another end of the street with a slightly injured Phil driving it and Clint standing through the sunroof with the special bow Naruto made. Phil had been injured by the destroyer's initial attack, including most of his men. Sadly, 3 of the agents were too heavily injured and quickly succumbed to their injuries. Clint, as the highest uninjured officer on the field, had to coordinate the medical team and the cover-up for the eventual fallout. After setting up the base, Phil and Clint decided that they have to do their goddamn jobs and stop the walking murder tanks. That's where the very overpowered bow comes in. It might not be able to defeat the murder tanks, but it sure can hinder their advance rather effectively. Hey, find your own death machines to fuck up, Naruto shouted to the quickly approaching agents. Clint was able to read Naruto's lips, so he was able to reply. No way, Clint answered while quick-firing low-powered shots with an occasional power shot. Fury would bust a gasket if we didn't do shit. That was certainly true, but the missed pun opportunity caused was Naruto's primary cause of concern. Nevertheless, he allowed for Phil and Clint to continue their bombardment. Only the high-powered shots were able to damage the destroyers, but they quickly healed themselves. Naruto decided to end the fight as the appeal quickly died down, since the destroyers were not much a challenge. Small cuts appeared around his arm and a bunch of threads bursts out from it. The threads rushed towards the remaining destroyers and buried themselves through the cracks. It spread out inside the destroyers, taking over the movement functions. Using only the threads, Naruto controlled the destroyers, making them fight each other. However, the destroyers punching and kicking each other was highly ineffective, as the lightweight metal armor and regenerative capabilities made them shrug off the attacks. In the end, he just pulled on the strings, ripping them apart into scrap metals. The threads retreated into Naruto's skin before the skin closed. Wriggling masses moved from his arms towards his heart until all the wriggling slowly disappeared. If the Asgardians were shocked then, it couldn't compare now. Their eyes glued on Naruto, unblinking. Nothing, absolutely nothing in the whole known universe has that powerful of skill and is diverse. The All-Father himself has a large assortment of skills, but only a few will reach levels that could easily obliterate the destroyers, all of which are either facilitated by the Odin force or magic. Naruto turned around and opened his mouth to say something towards the Asgardians when he suddenly stopped. Motherfucker, Naruto exclaimed before turning towards Clint and Phil. Everyone from the town and some of your agents are in that mountain over there. Seeing Clint and Phil's questioning glance, Naruto continued. Code green in Culver. Fuck. Clint groaned out and Phil clearly shared the sentiment. Well, good luck then. I thought dealing with that kind of stuff is your job. Naruto asked. No. This is our job. Phil clarified. Somebody else will deal with that one. Well, see you later, I guess. Naruto resignedly said before disappearing, leaving what they assumed was a clone. Come on, let's deal with the aliens. The clone said before walking towards the Asgardians. Culver University, Willowdale, Virginia. June 2, 2010, 1230H local. Hey, why did you? A Humvee door slammed straight to his face, interrupting his question. The heavy door dropped to the ground. Allow him to enter. Eric brushed off the cartoon-worthy scene and answered. You think I could stop him from doing anything? Eric took a peek around the tree, seeing a massive Hulk rampaging through the army. Is it worth it though? Naruto asked. Looks like it, Eric replied while checking his gear. Banner was able to get a rendezvous point from Stern. In Brooklyn. Naruto's serious atmosphere instantly changed, turning into something more jovial. Excited even. When? Tonight. Why? Hammer's going to present his Hammeroid line in Stark Expo. Why? What's so special with Hammer Tech? Cause those Hammeroids were upgraded by an Ivan Vanko. Naruto answered with a smile. You know, the same Vanko who almost killed Tony Stark. Oh, Eric said in realization. And Stark Expo is in Queens. He continued before staring at the rampaging Hulk. New York is going to be a war zone. Chapter 88. New York Rumble Part 1. 1 Hanson Place, Brooklyn, New York. June 2, 2010, 1800H local. On top of one of the highest buildings in Brooklyn, three figures could be seen standing on the helipad. Two of them were wearing a suit of armor, while the other one was wearing a simple black and orange suit and tie. These were, of course, Tony, Rhodey, and Naruto. The three of them were waiting for the inevitable fallout of Hammer's presentation and Vanko's attack. They already have informed the police of what they described as a possible terrorist attack on one of America's institutions. They opted out of informing the military due to Hammer's connections, as few and unreliable it was. Since Tony was the one to call it in, the commissioner took reins of the operation and called back all off-duty cops. The police force had effectively surrounded the Expo and Hammer Industries, only waiting for the signal to continue. Naruto had also requested for some people to patrol the surrounding area, especially Brooklyn, just in case. Tony had also made sure that Pepper and Morgan were safe. He'd sent them to negotiate with the owner of the building where he wanted the new Stark Tower to be built. That sent them to upstate New York, far away from the possible war zone. "You've been giggling on and off for the past 30 minutes. Rhodey asked when he can't take being out of the loop anymore. Naruto tried to compose himself, but another round of laughter came out of his mouth again. It took almost a minute for him to stop laughing. "You really want to know?" Naruto asked with a grin. "I wouldn't ask if I don't want to." "All right." Naruto fixed himself up before continuing. "You know the ogre that rampaged in Culver? The green guy. I thought that's fake." Tony joined in. He didn't really have the time to check on the news and its validity due to the upcoming attack. "That shit's true," Rhodey supplied. "Ross has been trying to capture Drive Banner for quite some time. All of this is done in the down low." "Dr. Banner? Bruce Banner? The 7 PhD guy?" Tony asked incredulously. "Yeah, that guy. Something about a super soldier experiment gone wrong," Rhodey answered. "Jarv, can you remind me to look into it for later?" Tony inquired. "Of course, sir," Jarvis replied. "Anyway, Banner hulked out at Culver cause Ross stepped in with his attack dog." Naruto interjected. "Now, Banner and Ross's daughter, Betty, are making their way to Brooklyn to meet with a shady scientist to reverse his condition. And he wouldn't change, right?" "Right," Rhodey practically pleaded. Naruto released a giggle, essentially answering the question, causing Tony and Rhodey's stomach to drop. "Ross already knows Banner and Betty are moving to New York since Blonsky, Ross's hired attack dog, already found Stearns, the mad scientist," Naruto replied, causing Tony and Rhodey to blanch. "Blonsky is also drunk in power. He wants to be the next experiment gone wrong." Tony and Rhodey absorbed what Naruto said. Rhodey in particular had a deeper insight on Emil Blonsky since he's kind of a legend in the military circles. "So, you're saying we might have two Hulks duking it out only a few blocks away from the Expo?" Rhodey shakily asked. "Yup," Naruto cheerfully declared. "I can't wait. I already got a bunch of cameras set up." "You're sick, man," Rhodey said with a slightly disgusted voice. "I know. 1 Hanson Place, Brooklyn, New York. June 2, 2010, 2000H local. Vanko really wants to talk, huh? How many times did he call you now?" Rhodey asked as Tony let another call go to the voicemail. "Oh yeah, he's like a creepy stalker. It would be 1,000 times better if he's a chick," Tony grumbled. "When will Naruto say he would come back? Hammer's presentation will start in 2 minutes." Rhodey was about to answer when Naruto suddenly appeared with a slightly disfigured man being dragged by his throat. "Okay, who's the green gremlin?" Tony asked with a hint of concern in his voice. "This guy is Drive Samuel Stearns. The fucker who Banner wants to meet," Naruto replied while slightly shaking Stearns, which released a low groan, confirming he's still alive. "He just upgraded Blonsky, but an accident must have occurred, causing this guy to grow a bit." "So if Blonsky's already got hulked, where is he?" Rhodey asked. "I moved the whole room under one of the buildings of the Italian mob in the warehouse district, an excellent place for Blonsky and Banner to meet," Naruto explained with a slight giggle. "You're sick, man, but none of that explains why you have Stearns." Tony pushed forward. "I just want to see what would happen to this one. Banner and Blonsky got physical upgrades, but this one only has an enlarged brain," Naruto answered. "So Blonsky already became a green giant, huh?" Rhodey weighed in. Nope. He's a flesh-colored hairless giant with bony protrusions. An ugly thing to look out. Naruto described, disgust evident on his face but his not done. For some reason, he became smooth down there also. Of course, he's smooth. You just said he's hairless. Tony reasoned. No, smooth, like a Barbie Ken doll. Don't ask me how I know about both of those things. Naruto emphasized. It didn't take long for Tony and Rody to understand what Naruto was insinuating, causing them to involuntarily cover their lower regions. They would have liked to ask more questions about the subject, but Jarvis interjected. It's showtime, sir. All right, you heard Jarvis, let's go. Tony said before closing his faceplate, followed by Rody. Naruto, on the other hand, just summoned another clone to take turns to a secure location and to make sure he stays unconscious. Tony and Rody didn't wait for Naruto and just headed to their designated areas, Tony to Stark Expo and Rody to Hammer Industries Road building. However, it didn't take long for Naruto's entertainment to arrive, or rather, wake up. He created 4 clones and sent them to each hotspot, Stark Expo, Hammer Industries, Bruce Banner, and Brooklyn's warehouse district. While that's happening, he also pulled out his phone and opened up a conference call. Get ready to earn your paycheck, Naruto said before closing his phone and jumping off the building. Brooklyn, New York, June 2, 2010, 2010 local. Bruce and Betty were in the home stretch to arrive at Stern's secondary location when 3 Chinooks surrounded the boat they hired to bring them to Brooklyn. Wanting to prevent the Hulk from coming out, Bruce surrendered himself. However, it didn't take long for something to go wrong, and for once, it doesn't directly relate to him. Sir, we got a radio connection request from both the NYPD and the National Guard. The helicopter pilot said through the in-vehicle audio system. General Ross thought about it for a second and saw no harm with accepting the contact, especially if he considered the fact that there would be several steps before the communication reached him. All right, patch them through, Ross said before the headset's audio channel changed. What's happening? Sir, the Hulk is rampaging here in downtown Brooklyn. A voice desperately echoed through the headsets, causing everyone's eyes to widen. That's impossible, soldier, Ross practically shouted. But sir, he's right here, and he's slowly pushing us back. The voice pleaded. Multiple buildings and vehicles are already destroyed or damaged. Injuries are accumulating. We're lucky we don't have any casualties yet, sir. Ross released a large sigh before answering. I'll call for reinforcements, though it may take 30 minutes to arrive. I don't know if we could last that long, but we appreciate any help you can spare, sir. The soldier replied before the connection got cut off. Bruce was the first one to snap out of their stupor and spoke up. Turn the plane around. Bruce in barely a whisper. What? Betty asked as she turned towards Bruce. Well, your father obviously already fucked up with trying to recreate the accident. Bruce started. Ross would have countered, but Bruce pushed on. If there's another Hulk down there, only another Hulk could take him. Blonsky was a madman who had to be put down, but not at the expense of losing Banner. Ross just couldn't take the chance. Too many resources have been thrown into the Super Soldier project just to lose everything with a very public fallout. At the very least, he won't lose all the data if he keeps Banner with him. There's another point to consider. As a military man, Ross needs to consider the welfare of the American people, and Blonsky was doing the exact opposite of what Ross stands for. However, Ross was one of the most patriotic people on the planet, and on some level, he expected everyone else to be as patriotic as him, like right now. Ross was about to open his mouth to give the order to continue to base no matter what when he suddenly lost consciousness, and another Ross appeared right beside him, surprising Bruce and Betty. A quick look around, it can be seen that all the soldiers sitting around them were unconscious, and some kind of transparent mirror formed around them. The clone simply shushed both Bruce and Betty before taking Ross's headset and putting it on. Turn it around, Clone Ross said with the same exact voice and cadence. Sir, the pilot replied, a little confused. Turn the goddamn plane around. We have a monster on our own that could take on the monster in Brooklyn. The clone gave Bruce a wink and a smile as he talked on the mic. So do your job and turn the plane around. There's a brief moment of silence before the chopper slowly banked and turned around. The clone smiled and nodded to himself before a cloud of smoke burst from the clone. After the smoke dissipated, Bruce and Betty could see Naruto sitting where the clone used to be. What? Bruce sputtered. It's a stupid thing you did. Well, Hulk is the stupid one. Bruce could feel the Hulk getting angry hearing Naruto's statement, but he kept a tight lid on it. I mean, you just have to bring one guy with you. Remember Eric. Tall, dark, and handsome. Ring any bells? Ho, how did you get in? Bruce asked. That, I landed on the roof a while ago. I'm just watching if Ross would fuck up, and lo and behold, he would fuck up. Naruto replied, not really answering the question, but it was enough to satisfy the two scientists for now. He then turned towards Bruce. But never mind that, I want to know, what would you do now? What? Betty asked, confused as to why she was being asked the question. Well, there's no way your dad would let go of Brucky Bear here without a fight. He'll have to go full nomad and backpack his way across the world all over again. Naruto explained, making their situation dawn on them. So, what are you going to do? Betty has two choices, and it all depends on what's more important for her. She can stay in her life and continue being a world-class researcher, or join Bruce as a fugitive. Bruce's position on the matter was already sure. He would want Betty to stay behind and just forget about him. The fucking martyr. Bruce was about to offer his suggestion when Naruto cut him off. How close are we? Naruto, using Ross's voice, asked. Judging from his smirk, Bruce was pretty confident Naruto was purposely cutting him off. ETA 1 minute. The pilot replied. Hover high above the area and open the cargo bay door. Be sure to pull back everyone from the area. Naruto ordered. Yes, sir. Bruce and Betty just stared at Naruto as he walked towards the cargo bay door and sent the pair a mischievous smile. Behind him, the door slowly dropped down, causing the winds to rush in, causing the pair to stumble backward. Be careful, Brucky Bear. You don't want to fall. Naruto said with a large smile. It's a high drop. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.